Hello and welcome to the Connection podcast series. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Andrew Woollard. Andrew is CEO of the newly formed BoxWay. We saw an announcement literally 10 days ago talking about the formation of a new business within the UK sheep plant market. So Andrew, welcome to those of you to those of you who maybe have not met Andrew before. Long history in the UK industry, having worked with some of the big names, most recently as Saika. Andrew, tell us a little bit about the formation of BoxWay, the how and the why.
Okay. Yes, I think it's true to say that certainly at the beginning of 2020 or thereabout, Saika I wasn't currently working in the company, but they had a view that the future of these three English sheep plants was probably better in other ownership, more dedicated ownership, and a decision was taken to find a suitable buyer. A number of discussions happened during 2020 with possible acquirers. I was asked to get involved in a consultancy basis at the back end of 2020 to help build a business plan. That wasn't just, it was around investment, but also in terms of a market and sales plan, and also to look at the current and future prospects for sheep plants in the United Kingdom. So I got involved in that, in trying to help that process. And then it was a bit of a turnaround at the beginning of 2021 when I was approached to say, okay, Andrew, we quite like your business plan, but how would you like to execute it as well? Which I thought was quite interesting. So yes, I was approached to say that we think that these plants' future would be better in dedicated, private, independent ownership. Saika knew that I had a particular interest in the sheep plant market, and rather than the plants ending up in maybe a trade bidder hands or in terms of private equity, there was a desire by Saika to prefer it to be in sort of independent entrepreneurial type hands, somebody who could help grow these businesses for the future. And that's how it came about, really. So as part of that process and going through my own due diligence, etc., we have formed BoxWay Packaging Group, which is a newly incorporated company in the United Kingdom, to absorb, whilst it's a brand new company, we are absorbing three very well established sheep plants into that business going forward.
And Andrew, tell us a little bit about those three plants. You've obviously got some good geographic spread with them. So just give us a quick overview of each of the facilities and where they are in the UK.
Yes, and that was one of the things that interested me in this, because whilst we're taking these three plants into independent private ownership, it is somewhat unusual to have the sort of geographical spread that we've got. So there are three plants, one of which is in Peterlee in County Durham, one is in Telford in Shropshire, and one is in Exeter. They've all got various different origins, but they were all owned and run by SCA for a period, and were certainly part of SCA when Saika came into the UK in 2008 and acquired the conventional businesses of SCA. So yes, good geographical spread. And clearly have always, most of their inception have been part of big multinational integrated models. So it's an exciting new future for the employees as well.
And it's interesting because you mentioned a couple of minutes ago that effectively you were in sort of semi-retirement, that you were approached by Saika to sort of have a look at these three businesses and put together a business plan. So what sort of changed your mind? What tempted you to come out and jump back into the hot seat again?
Well, I think a number of reasons. One is I can see the opportunity for a newly created independent business in the UK. I can see the opportunity also with some, a big part of this plan is about some, we haven't yet announced exactly what the details are, but there is a well-funded market-led investment plan behind this, details of which will be announced in the next month or two. I also wanted to see the people in these plants have an exciting and more secure future going forward. So I think the opportunity and the opportunity within the market, and also to see these businesses flourish in the future rather than shrink. I think on a more personal level, I've got a particular affinity with the origin of these two businesses. These three plants are either reed businesses or Bowater businesses that were originally established. I've worked for both of those companies for a large part of my career, and a happy part of my career. And also my father worked for both Reed and Bowater for all his career. So there's some softer issues at stake here, as well as some hard business decisions. But no, I think that really it was during that business planning process I could really see the opportunity in this UK market for a dedicated network within independent hands, but a good geographical spread at the same time. And I could see that as, and particularly with the market as we're seeing at the moment, I could see some big opportunities, particularly if we can put some well-funded investment into these plants for the future as well.
So Andrew, you talked there about investment, and I think it's fair to say that under the various guises, probably under Saika was the fastest in terms of decision-making processes. Obviously, now you can kick on even faster as a true independent. So you put in the press release that there is going to be investment, people, marketing, etc. So tell us a little bit about some of those plans.
Okay, well, first of all, in terms of the people and the sales side of the business, we will be investing in design and in more sales resource in the business as well. I mean, each of the three plants have been run slightly differently in the past, but there's certainly one or two of them have been relying heavily on the main integrated local plant for sales and design, and we want to establish their own facility within each of these plants so that we can improve our speed to market and get closer to our existing customers, and also take advantage of new customers as well. So that you will see some, and we have already got plans in place for that. And we've actually already started in terms of putting that extra resource in place. I think it's also true that under Saika and under SCA, these plants were not at the top of the list in terms of investment. There's been maintenance type investment, but probably not enough market-led investment. And as we all know, Saika's not backward in investing in the UK market, far from it. But I think it is true that the knowledge of and the dedication to the sheep plants has probably not been as great as it needed to be for the future betterment of these plants and for the customers and its people. So yes, there's already an investment plan in place. We've been working with various machinery suppliers under NDAs for the last few months, and now that it's all the acquisition's out in the open, we've started to talk to employees and also to customers about those plans before we actually finally press the button. But it will involve investment in all three plants. It will be about widening our capability and also increasing our capacity in some areas as well. And I think when the plans do become known, you'll see that it is pretty exciting and quite bold, actually. I think, and certainly well needed and overdue, probably in these plants, certainly.
So, Andrew, customers, you were talking about how you've obviously taken on the existing order book for each of those three sites. Obviously, those customers were used to working with effectively a multinational, an integrated company. How have the customers reacted to the fact that now you're a smaller independent, as it were?
Yes, I mean very well generally. I mean, I've already met a few of the customers, and I think I have to say we've seen great support so far. I think there's a general understanding amongst the customer base that there needed to be a new approach, and I think it's welcomed. And yes, you're right. In some instances, the customers are entwined within the order book of the greater Saika, but most of the customers actually are pretty unique to their own individual sheep plants. And I think certainly there is going to be a hunger. There's certainly hunger for knowledge from the customers in terms of what's the investment going to be, what's it going to mean, and obviously they'll be watching us very closely in terms of how we build our relationships and understand their current needs and, more importantly, their future needs. So no, I think overall, Dan, certainly I've seen clearly most customers didn't see this coming, but most have reacted very positively. And obviously, with the interesting times we've got in the market, I think that they're hoping as a result of this, we'll see more capacity and further improvement in terms of service capability as well. I think going forward, because we all know there have been issues in the sheep plant market in terms of supply, and as part of this, we have secured some help and some advantage in terms of raw material supply, etc. And I'm hoping we can demonstrate to the customers that under this new independent ownership, we can actually, not only will they not see service deteriorate, they'll actually see it improve.
Okay, so you've talked quite a few times there about current industry issues. Let's go off piece now. So not talking about BoxWay. Give me some of your own personal views, having watched the industry for as long as you have. I mean, we haven't seen lead times like this, well, for as long as I can remember, in the 27 years I've been in the industry. What do you think is driving all of this? Why is the industry in such a pickle at the moment?
Well, you're right. I mean, I think it probably goes back to the 70s, really, where we saw sort of lead times like we've seen. I mean, clearly demand is very strong, and we all know that, and the much used word unprecedented. I think we've seen high levels of growth this year, beyond anything we could ever have thought. But if you go back a bit, this market has been growing in the UK, pre-COVID as well. There's been, obviously not to the degree we've been seeing in the last 12 months or so, but if you go back the last 3, 4, 5 years, there's been steady growth within the UK corrugated market, above GDP consistently. So I don't think it's a completely new phenomena. Now, clearly with the changing to our shopping habits, clearly with the amount of substitution we're still seeing, and obviously the environmental credentials of corrugated fiberboard packaging, that's certainly spurred the volumes on, etc. And you're right, and demand is strong, and all the predictions are that the growth will continue, and I see it particularly interesting for the sheep plants, because I think that whilst all the integrated businesses are growing as well, customer demand is strong, but I see that with the new emerging customers, new emerging businesses, certainly the amount of new businesses that have been set up in the second half of last year, and and it's well publicised from the Office of National Statistics about the number that have grown, then I can see challenger brands starting, new innovative companies starting up, and I think the sheep plants are very well suited to be able to take advantage of that, whilst the main players are obviously wrestling with some big national and multinational customers who are also growing. So it's a fascinating time, I think, and as I say, I think it's not just recent growth; it's an acceleration of a trend that's been around for some time. And as I say, I think the future predictions look very good as well.
Well, Andrew, thank you ever so much indeed. It's been wonderful catching up with you. We wish you all the best with the new venture with BoxWay. And yeah, we look forward to staying in touch and hearing the investment plans as and when they're ready to be released. So, Andrew, thanks ever so much indeed.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you.